and you spend a lot of your time there in Frankfurt.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Monica, to give me the occasion to be here for the panel, but also for the possibility to say a few words. I thought I would focus on the topic related to the panel before, but trying to take the two sides of the coin in a certain way. So cyber security, cyber threat, resilience is one side of the coin. The other side, in fact, is all the new technologies and the opportunities they are bringing us. I will not explain that to you, Monica, certainly. And so I wanted to make a few remarks, if you allow me, on those two sides. We are in a world which is changing dramatically in a certain way, in a positive way, I believe, through digitalization of everything we do in our society. I witness that every day with my children on the way they behave, on the way they buy books or buy literature or buy movies, by downloading, by buying instantly. And all the way the society is developing is going towards this digital format for all of what we are doing in the way we interact together. I am not judging whether it's good or bad. I just simply, it's a fact that we see it and we have to deal with it. And it says something to us, I think, in the field of financial market infrastructure, that we need to adapt the way we deliver services to these new needs. Otherwise, we will see that other companies coming from nowhere with no culture in the field, in particular of securities, where we have the culture of no mistake and very safe processing, ensuring the integrity of the issuances that we manage in our market infrastructure. The same in central bank, with the central bank money issuance, certainly, and the safety and trust we should give to our citizens on our currencies is very important. And therefore, it is important that we are able to embrace this new technology with the challenges which are coming, despite the fact that we have to face those challenges. The second dimension, which is important, I think that we are all facing, and the fact that there is so many attendees in this event shows that a year after, well, every second year when you organize it, but also in different conferences, is that our world is globalizing more and more. So the transaction becomes more and more borderless. It's true everywhere, again, for payments, but also for securities transaction, for repo transaction, for a lot of liquidity transaction. More and more the pool of collateral we are using are more and more cross-border, and more we have to deal with this borderless context in which we are, not withholding the fact, again, that new technology are coming to change the game in this field. So we see, as it was mentioned by Ridwan earlier, new technology which are outside of any border, the cloud technology, so which typically is difficult to attach to a place. And again, we have to deal with it. This is a way eventually for us to be more performant, but at the same time, it's eventually threats. We mentioned threat of sharing information, so threat to access to our information that we have to preserve in our financial market infrastructure are something we have to balance. In this regards, we have to look at what is being done on both sides, I believe. So what are the opportunities and what are the threats? So the threats, I think we had a good panel here, which have summarized somehow the threats that we see and all the cyber resilience that we need to take for a very serious topic, that we have to raise awareness in all the boards of financial market infrastructure at the highest level, that there is a strong understanding that you need to have a cyber resilience strategy in each and every board and has to be implemented very seriously. As I was mentioning, in Europe, we have done a lot of work, which is derived from a global work, CPMI, IOSCO, covering a large number of countries, if not all the financial markets for IOSCO, and giving the possibility to have guidelines on how to implement different, I would say, policies, different tools, and different framework to reinforce our capacity to react and to defend ourselves as a community. And the community has different dimensions. And through this, I will share maybe with you a few lines of what we have done in Europe, and I think it can be also eventually reused elsewhere, or eventually it is already happening elsewhere, and I am not aware of those, but at least the one of Europe, I can give some elements. So we in ECB, together with the Central Bank of the Euro system, so all the countries of Europe, of the Union, have defined a three-pillar strategy. So we have defined the fact that we need first to look at the FMIs, so the financial market infrastructure, the CSDs in particular, the CCPs and the payment system, but also the CSDs, and to make sure that their resilience in terms of cyber is reinforced. The second element of our strategy has been to look at the ecosystem. And we heard it very well in the panel when we see SWIFT doing his customer protection program, the endpoint security check. It is the ecosystem that we are looking at. And it is important that the whole ecosystem is preserved. And the definition of ecosystem, if you look digital and global, is very complex. Again, the example of Central Bank of Bangladesh is very interesting. They are not even a direct participant to Fedwire, but the money has been stolen in the account of Fedwire in the US. And the money went away somewhere in the Philippines for probably another country which was behind probably the hack. I don't know if it is official or not, but everyone knows it, I guess. And therefore, this is being a network completely digitalized and global. And therefore, our strategy is very important in this regard, to look at the ecosystem at large and how we can protect our ecosystem. And the third pillar of the strategy, I should say, is very important, is a human factor, but also the fact that we are able to have a dialogue between the industry and the regulators, the competent authorities, the relevant authorities. So all the ones who have a responsibility in ensuring the safety of the system and the regulatory context have to be in a dialogue with the industry. On all of those three pillars, we took actions very concretely. So we have done a test, as we mentioned, to put in a room all the FMI and the regulators and see what happens in the case of an attack, where we were able to detect some of our weaknesses. We have done tools which help the FMI to further, I would say, enhance their capacity to understand the cyber threat, and eventually to see where they have to put priority in the action they can take to reinforce their cyber resilience, up to the famous 2 hours RTO, which could be, again, an objective I think that we should all pursue as operator of services, even though it may be challenging to consider that it's safer to restart in 2 hours when we are not sure of the integrity of the data in our systems. And for that, we have done, yes, different publications. I mentioned the Cyber Resilience Oversight Expectation before, a document which is, I think, bringing new ideas on the table in the way to operationalize a cyber strategy within an FMI or within even an FI, if I may generalize the point, so also financial institutions who are not market infrastructure could also apply similar reasoning. And here, there is a series of paradigm shifts which are needed, cultural shifts that we have to change. We mentioned a few of them a minute ago. It's very important to think differently when you think cyber. The first one is the one that Ridwan mentioned. We have to get away from the idea that cyber is only an IT topic. And it's only an information security topic. We used to do that in not so far the past, to have a checklist of things I have to implement to make sure that I am safe. Like putting my SWIFT station in conformity with the endpoint customer service. And I am done, it's done, I cannot look anymore to my security. This is not true anymore. Cyber threat is evolving at the speed at which, unfortunately, we are also evolving. So we have to be also proactive and to think that cyber resilience is something dynamic. So we have non-stop to re-question ourselves and to see how we can further increase. So from static to dynamic, it's a way to change, I think, dramatically the way we approach this type of element. We have to see also that the ecosystem dimension change also our approach to protection. We as central banks, not so far ago, we have even that in the PFMI, the Principle for Financial Market Infrastructure. We have to identify who are our key participants, i.e. the big guys who are connected. And on those ones, we were particular attention because they have a systemic dimension, and therefore we are particularly careful. What we see with the cyber resilience is that it's a small guy who are the entry point into the ecosystem and who can put a disorder in the whole system. So again, we have to change the way we approach things. and to protect everyone and not only the big one, because the big ones are not protected anymore if the small ones are the entry point into our networks. So we have a lot of paradigm shift to do here in this regard. Another one which was mentioned in the question, which is very important, is to think that, again, we are in a community, I don't like reducing this to that, of good guys, I believe, because we are all there to serve our community, to deliver secure services, to deliver trust in our services, and therefore we need to collaborate more, to exchange information, to be ready to be together on that. There is no competition on cyber, and this is again changing in the mind of many of us. Competition is on all the other services, and it's amongst the community of, I would say, normal parties, and not competition between, I would say, the hackers or the one who wants to jeopardize the stability of our system and the rest. Another element, I think, which is important to take into account on this side, and maybe I believe it has a twist to the more positive side of this digitalization and globalization, is that we should look at new technology as also a way to protect ourselves better, and have challenged amongst, again, the IT technology companies, the FMIs, challenge the way we are having capacity to detect whether there is problems. So we can bring artificial intelligence, machine learning capacities to see abnormal behavior. I mean, the case Central Bank of Bangladesh is very interesting. It was a user in dollar who was doing a few payments per day of a certain value, and suddenly they made much more payments per day and of 10, 20 times more value. This is easy to detect that there is something strange which should raise attention. And a simple, I would say, machine learning or artificial intelligence can detect that very quickly. So typically, the new technology can bring a lot also to us to protect ourselves. And this is an important element, I think, that we have to take into our reasoning, that it's not always impossible to find new ways with the new technology. The new technology, as I'm mentioning them now, are also bringing a lot of opportunities, I think. And it has been very interesting to see the development around the so-called DLT blockchain, which are popping up a bit everywhere, and to try to sort what is good and not good from that. But if there is one thing which is, I think, very important for us, FMI people, whether we are central bank, FMI, or CSDs, or other type of entities in this field, is to understand those technologies, to understand what they can bring to us, in the quality of service we can bring, and in the efficiency, I think, that we can bring. Also in the fact that we can bring new products, that we can bring innovation, and allow the economy that we are serving to bring innovation in also is very important. So in this regard, we should not be shy to look at those, to make hackathon, to make a laboratory where we can test this technology is very important. I know that many of us are doing it in this room, many of you. We are also doing it, yes, in ECB. And it's interesting to see how much this can help us to be stronger. However, it does not say that this new technology is simply the solution to everything. We should be very careful that the analysis should be conducted, we should understand it, and we should look at it also from all the different responsibilities that we have. So from a central bank perspective, we have three perspectives to this new technological element. There is a regulatory one. We should make sure that our regulation, our regulatory power, our capacity to exert our competent authority, I would say, on the FMIs and the market, is not jeopardized by those new technology. This is very important in the context of this because it means that the fintech, the big tech, who eventually are not supervised by us, but are delivering services that clearly affect our function of central banks, of central bank of issue, of securities regulators for the securities regulators, should be overseen independently of the technology. And it's not because I am called Google, Alipay, Apple, whoever, I mean, I have nothing against them, that they should escape simply the regulation that we have, because those regulations are not made against the interest of particular FMI. But they are made there to make it safe. and to make it trustful for the functioning of our economy. So we cannot play with this. That's the first element, which is important for us. And there is a lot of question on this topic these days. And therefore, on the central bank side, we look closely at those questions. The second element is that those new technology, probably it's a very European problem, I should say, but I guess it's true elsewhere, might bring fragmentation in the market. So it can split liquidity. It can split securities market, creating new niches which can become bigger and then create disruption in the functioning of the market or not helping for the integration. So there is a focus to look at in this regard on how much we can bring integration of those new technology into the existing one and making sure that it does not create less efficiency in the market than more. And I should say the third element that we look at is we are operator of system, of FMI services, and we look whether this technology is fit for purpose for FMIs. And so it's very important, I think, for all of us to understand, first, that the authorities have to look at these three dimensions, and us, each of us here in the room, as operators, have to look also at what opportunities this can bring. And as operator of services, like many of you CSD here in the room, is to look whether those technologies help me to reduce my costs by increasing my efficiency. And it was interesting, we did tests that we have published on our website together with the Bank of Japan, for instance, where we saw that making transactions in large volume with a DLT does not work, or at least it works technically, but the level of efficiency that we can get compared to other technology already on the shelf are simply not worth it. We have seen that with this technology, however, you can very well establish DVP or interrelating two chains and get certainty of protection against principal risk, as we know very well is the main purpose of DVP. Again, the scalability of this is not yet there, but it could be a good answer for interrelation between markets which don't have large volume to interrelate and eventually to bring some elements of facilitation. We have seen also a technology for niches products which are interesting, like a smart contract, who can be for very specific and niches product use eventually and more efficient than standard technology. So we have seen that we can use those technology to bring eventually new products and new elements to our market. Knowing that the trend we have to serve, again, to put it back into the context where we are operating, is that we are asked by our communities and market participants to be more and more efficient in terms of time. The speed of settlement is increasing. We are asked to do more and more instant type of transaction. It's not yet there completely in the field of securities, where we are still rolling settlement as a basis, but the trend is pushing towards this, and we will have more and more difficulty to resist to those developments, which require a lot of pressure and efficiency on the way we are able to manage liquidity of the banks and market participants, and on the way we are able to bring so efficient solution to the market who do not bring disruption or difficulty to deliver services in this context. So in a nutshell, that's where I think we have to find the right balance, all of us. It's every day we have to consider whether those challenges to use those new technology are better for us or worse for us. And this, again, is something which is not static. You cannot do one analysis and consider it's done. It is a dynamic process where we have non-stop to re-question ourselves whether we need to bring new impetus and new elements, new services with those new technology as we go, keeping in mind all what I said in the first part of my points, that the cyber context in which we are needs to be answered, and we need to deliver a protected and trusted environment on all what we are delivering in this regards in FMIs. And with this, I just want to leave you with this. I invite you to visit our website in EasyECB. There is no royalties, but there is good publication, I believe, on those topics. And we are very happy to interact with you. So there is possibilities to interact with us, because we believe that creativity comes from the dialogue and the exchange amongst different culture. And the example of this assembly is certainly a very good one. So again, thank you very much, Monica, to give me the possibility to be there. And I understand if you want, I can eventually answer one or two questions. Thank you very much for your attention. No? No. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We don't have questions, so thanks a lot for this very interesting presentation. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of our work today, at least here in this room. We're going to network during dinner at 7:30 p.m. in Fuego, which is a restaurant here in Palmeraie, between the two hotels, this one and the Palmeraie Hotel, the other side. It's a distance walking 2 minutes. So let's meet together during dinner, and tomorrow we're going to start at 9 o'clock. Wonderful evening to all of you.